In the last 2 years, AI has brought the United States and the world to a critical inflection point. AI may be a technology as transformative as the internet, or even more so. It has unleashed a new global industrial revolution with the potential to unlock opportunities that improve our quality of life, create jobs, and stimulate economic growth. The country that leads in AI will shape the 21st century global order. As a matter of economic security, as a matter of national security, America has to beat China in the AI race. China has made AI central to its national strategy, and China aims to lead the world in AI by 2030, investing heavily in AI adoption across industries like manufacturing and defense. In this race, the United States is facing a fork in the road. Do we go down the path that embraces our history of entrepreneurial freedom and technological innovation, or do we adopt the command and control policies of Europe? I would suggest that Congress draw on the lessons we can learn from the dawn of the internet. In the early 1990s, Washington embraced the internet and explicitly adopted a style of regulation that was intentionally and decisively light touch. Congress chose to deregulate under the Telecommunications Act of 1996, while President Clinton pursued tariff agreements and treaties that protected America's intellectual property and technological exports. Further, in 1998, Congress enacted a 10-year internet tax moratorium so that state laws wouldn't balkanize and stymie the promise of e-commerce. The results of these decisions were extraordinary.
I made a lot of money.
By 2000, the United States has recorded 5 straight years of historic highs in productivity gains and investment growth. Hundreds of thousands of new jobs were created, and the United States became a top tech exporter with massive sums of private investment pouring into the U.S. digital economy. By contrast, EU countries pursued a series of heavy-handed regulations that proved enormously costly. In 1993, the United States and Europe had economies virtually identical in size. Today, the American economy is more than 50% larger than Europe's. The drivers of that are tech and the shale revolution. Those two comprise virtually the entirety of that massive growth over Europe. According to one EU Commission report, only 6% of global AI startup funding flows to EU firms. 6%. That is 1/10 of the amount that is going to American companies. The report directly blames this yawning chasm on the EU's nasty regulatory approach. And yet, the Biden administration, for inexplicable reasons, tried to align AI policy with the EU to adopt their failed policies. President Biden's sweeping AI executive order, the longest executive order in American history, cast AI as dangerous and opaque, laying the groundwork for audits, for risk assessments, and regulatory certifications. Biden's approach inspired similar efforts in state legislatures across the country, threatening to burden startups, developers, and AI users with heavy compliance costs. Some of my colleagues suggest that a friendlier version of the Biden approach makes sense. They want a testing regime to guard against AI, quote, discrimination, and have government agencies provide, quote, guidance documents, seemingly something out of Orwell, that will usher in what they call best practices as if AI engineers lack the intelligence to responsibly build AI without the bureaucrats. Many in the industry, foolishly, have supported such paternalism. Harmful regulations take many forms. Biden's misguided midnight AI diffusion rule on chips and model weights would have crippled American tech companies' ability to sell AI to the world. The Biden plan would have handed over key markets to China. We should want foreign countries, particularly our allies, to buy American. I vocally opposed this rule for months, and indeed the ranking member and I together urged the Biden administration not to adopt it. And I'm very pleased that President Trump has now confirmed he plans to rescind it. All of this busybody bureaucracy, whether Biden's industrial policy on chip exports or industry and regulator-approved guidance documents, is a wolf in sheep's clothing. To lead in AI, the United States cannot allow regulation, even the supposedly benign kind, to choke innovation or adoption. American dominance in AI depends on two factors: innovation and adoption. Innovation drives breakthroughs and global competitiveness. Adoption ensures that these tools empower American workers and businesses, enabling the United States to become the world's leading adopter and exporter of AI. Thankfully, President Trump has largely reversed Biden's misguided AI agenda. In fact, I think AI was a sleeper issue in this last elections. Americans wanted to see President Trump and Republicans, and indeed all senators, champion AI policies focused on innovation and adoption. The contrast has been astounding. This year, there have been over $1 trillion of new AI projects, including major investments in Texas like the CoreWeave data center in Plano and the $500 billion Project Stargate in Abilene by OpenAI and Oracle and others. Adopting a light touch regulatory style for AI will require Congress to work alongside the president, just as Congress did with President Clinton. We need to advance legislation that promotes long-term AI growth and innovation. That's why I will soon release a new bill that creates a regulatory sandbox for AI, modeled on the approach taken by Congress and President Clinton at the dawn of the internet, that will remove barriers to AI adoption, prevent needless state overregulation, and allow the AI supply chain to rapidly grow here in the United States. That's how we'll accelerate economic growth, secure U.S. dominance in AI, and beat China. And with that, I turn to the ranking member Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this hearing, and welcome to the witnesses before us, Mr. Altman, Dr. Su, Mr. Integrator, and Mr. Smith. It's a great pleasure to have all of you here, but it's especially prideful moment for the Pacific Northwest to have Mr. Smith and Mr. Altman here, both representing an open AI approach. By that, I mean an approach where we want to win against China and a closed system by making sure that what is developed here in the United States and around the globe is an architecture where the United States wins and is open. To do that, we need to focus in winning on computing power, on algorithms, and on robust data sources. All of that will be key. Personally, I believe a continued investment in NSF helps in all of those areas as a good public-private partnership with the industry that's represented here today. I'm so proud that we passed the CHIPS and Science Act, because the CHIPS and Science Act also set a foundation for investing in the United States of America and bringing more of the supply chain back to the United States of America to build on a future leadership that we already have, I believe, in the computing power. But we also need to understand that we have to move forward on the CHIPS Act, like the University of Washington $10 million grant on multi-design sets for chips, the very large-scale integrated designs I'm sure that Dr. Su will tell us about today. But the fact that the United States has to continue to lead on the future designs and the implementation of that also requires us to be very smart about data centers, about sources of electricity, and how we're going to build that supply that could be up to 12% of electricity demand in the very near future. So how do we do that? I've noticed in each of your testimonies you all explain this, but I'm also very proud that Microsoft has already signed an agreement with one company, Fusion Energy in Everett, Washington, for a power source supply. Maybe Mr. Altman in his testimony will talk about this, but that they hope to get very near future energy source from that. So clearly the United States leading on electricity and development. So Mr. Smith, very much appreciate in your testimony the accentuation on the fact that the United States of America needs hundreds of thousands of new electricians, something we should all want to get behind. The fact that having electricity and the electricians and the data source centers here in the United States and in other places will be key. While I want to see us move forward, as the chairman said, we signed a letter saying we needed a broader support for export controls. I want to be clear. Export controls are not a trade strategy. They are not a back pocket issue that the President of the United States whips out in trade negotiations. We are going to move fast because we are going to set standards. I believe those standards should be encouraging very broad distribution of U.S. manufactured and made AI chips and technology, and that we're asking our partners overseas to comply with the rules that we establish, things like making sure that there is no circumvention of the supply that somehow gets into China's hands, making sure that we have access and making sure that we can verify on that, and also making sure that U.S. data companies and cloud-based companies are allowed to be in that market. We should not be going to markets overseas only to have them tell us that organizations with cloud services from the U.S. would not be allowed. This, I believe, would be a robust initiative on getting U.S. AI chips and U.S. AI open systems dominated around the globe. Why do we need to move fast? We need to move fast because if we don't, we are looking at another Huawei, another instance where the United States is behind and also saying we should tear out this system that now we don't like for lots of reasons and backdoor policies. So I'm all for winning. That is why we passed the Chips and Science Act. I'm all for winning, and that is why we have passed 7 bills out of this committee last year that kind of got stuck in the lame duck. I think the chairman of the committee wasn't ready to move forward in negotiations with the House and Senate on those 7 bills. But those bills, a bill between myself and Senator Young on the Institute for Standards, NIST standards, which I think we still need to do. My colleague and I, Moran, on education and scholarships, small business, and the bill by my colleague here, Senators Klobuchar and Thune, which was also related to the NIST standards. So we had an opportunity a year ago to move fast. We didn't do it. So let's do this now. Let's get together and figure this out. The faster the United States moves now, I like this great Paul Romer quote, which was about collaboration is the next phase of innovation. If we don't collaborate here, if we throw down on politics instead of getting the policy right, we won't move fast. Let's allow these people to do what they do best, and let's make sure the United States has the right policies in place so that our open AI standard wins the day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.